I got, so hopefully this will all go well. All right, so quick little countdown. And in 3, 2, 1. Hello, the internet. Matthew here for another outstanding episode of Something Creative. I have for you now an incredible character portrayer, I guess you would say. I mean, he's a cosplayer, but I want to say more than a cosplayer. Arsenio. Am I going to get, you know what? I'm going to say Arsenio Arsenal. I'm going to use your IG now.
There you go.
Right with you. Arsenio Arsenal, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me here, man. Like, once you told me about this, I'm like, this is such a dope idea. It's like, when I started watching videos, like, now it's a good way to like get to know people more, interact more. It's like, oh, what goes on behind social media? Like, what's the person actually like?
Yeah, and that's exactly it. And so for those who don't follow him yet on Instagram, which you're going to right now, you're going to see a guy who is incredibly creative in the physical sense. This is very, very different. Anyone could put on a costume. I always say that, you know, like I've done some cosplay and like anyone could put on a costume, but when you really embody the character, especially when you're talking about, you know, sci-fi and fantasy and action and everything, it's sometimes to meet somebody who actually takes it to the next level and gets into physicality, the physical art of being a superhero. You don't get to see that every day. You don't get to see that at every convention. And I met this gentleman at New York Comic Con. Actually, we interacted online, and then I got to meet you at New York Comic Con. Dude, you are so committed to the physicality of the actors. He was cosplaying as Daredevil, and he literally did it. I took a selfie with you. I have it. I'm going to put it up. You didn't even look at the camera. You just looked like Matt Murdock, like straight ahead, blind. It was great. I got to give you props for all that hard work, man.
Thanks so much, man. Like, Daredevil was actually one of the fun ones. Like, oh, how do I act blind? So even when I'm watching the series and episode again, I was like, okay. He doesn't really make eye contact. He's always looking up in the corner with peripherals. And I was like, all right, if the people always tell me, you look like the character, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go full out with it.
Yeah.
So it's just like practice not making eye contact the whole time. They're like, dude, are you actually blind? I'm like, no.
See, that's, like that for an actor, that's like the highest compliment is when people can't tell anymore. Years ago, I was in the Rainmaker, and my friend was playing the older brother, and he's kind of like a jerk through the whole thing. And after the show, nobody wanted to talk to him or get his autograph, like none of the audience. And he's just like, well, that's a compliment.
Yeah. Once you sell the bad guy role, you're like, all right, I did a good job.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I actually want to talk about that. I want to talk about a little bit about your level of training, what you go through, how you connect with those characters. So let's first and foremost, let's start with you are really buff.
Thank you, dude. I honestly always think I'm not nowhere near as buff. People say that I'm like, because I have friends who are like professional bodybuilders and other fitness athletes, and I'm just like, crap. All right, hold on. Let me get back in the gym, get other pre-workout in.
All right. So, what do you do outside of cosplay?
Outside of cosplay, I basically have two jobs. My main source of income is I work security at Viacom CBS. So I'm like overnight security at MTV in the middle of Times Square. Half the time I'm on my laptop, I'm like, okay, that's going good. All right, cool. And then just like working on scripts, working on projects, editing out ideas. Okay. And then my other profession is my main thing is personal training. Okay. I've always loved working out. I got into it in high school, helped me a lot with my depression and self-esteem issues. Still deal with them, but hey, make it till you make it. And then I got certified around 2 years ago, started teaching classes, kettlebells, and became a co-owner at a gym up in Harlem. So we've just been doing that. Once the pandemic hit, it was like, all right, now we got to figure out how we're all going to do this virtually. And virtual training, you can get it done. It's good if you get the full for it, but if you're used to teaching with somebody in person, help and like making banter, I joke around a lot. I'm like Spider-Man. The more uncomfortable I get, the more quips per second I make. So I'm always joking around to cover up how nervous I might be. And then doing that virtually is like, okay, cool. They're on mute. I'm making a joke. And I'm like, I'm an idiot. I'm going to just shut up now because that did not land. All right, let's keep going.
You can't get the feedback. You can't
get that exactly.
Back. I know. See, you said that, and I'm just kind of like, oh, that's awkward. Because I do the exact same thing. I am always being like the sarcastic prick because I don't know what else to do.
Yeah.
So that's awesome, man. All right. So you really are like living in this physical space. So no, wait. You said part owner of a gym?
Yeah. So the gym that I started going certification at, it's a co-op.
It's called
Revolutionary Fitness.
Revolutionary Fitness. Okay, great.
Red Fit NYC. we had a studio up in Harlem, and I started teaching classes there. That's where I got my certification through.
Mhm.
And it's a co-op, so you can come into the co-op, and it's like you come into the co-op, you become a part of the owners. So I was
Wow.
doing that. I was teaching there all mornings. I would get off work at 8 a.m., go to the gym, be there till noon. Like, all right, I'm gonna go home and take a nap before I go to work tonight. So we were doing that, and with the everything with COVID, we started
Right.
transitioning more into more digital training. So we're recording videos. I do a lot of cinematography for it now, uploading up on our Patreon, and just trying to keep the connection building up there because space-wise, of how everything is, it's a small studio. It's a pretty good size, but in pre-COVID times, it was great.
Right.
Current COVID times, you can't really have a full class to make enough revenue to keep the space open without having to worry about social distancing. So it's like, you know what? Close up the studio. We're mostly doing digital training outside. I'm always outside. When my days off, I'm like, all right, we want to go to the park, and we've just been going through there. And that's what really was like the final push for me because I wanted to do personal training since I was in high school. And of course, my folks were like, oh, that's not a career. I'm like, oh, tell that to Hollywood.
Dude,
Yeah,
I used to work at Equinox. I was a Pilates instructor and a massage therapist. We had some trainers pulling up in Audis, and they weren't struggling to make the payments. Let me put it that way.
oh yeah,
Some of these guys are making six figures, and yeah, it could be great. But now let me ask you this. Actually, I'm just going to segue a little bit into that, because, like you said, your parents are like, "Oh no, this isn't a career," and yet at the same time, you look at the most successful people, and it's what they put their passion into that made them successful. So
exactly.
I take it you agree. Do you want to sound off on that?
Completely. And it was actually what started motivating me more getting into cosplays was when I got into college. I thought I was going to do computer science. I was like, okay, that's a pretty good profession. I'll do that or business. They're like, oh, you got to take calculus 3. And I'm like, "Pfft, I'm in pre-calc and I'm failing. No way." And my best friend in college was like, hey, you should do theater with me. And I'm like, all right, let's check it out.
Mm,
So got involved in theater, fell in love with acting. I've always acted since I was a kid, but I never really went for it. So once I was that, I was like, okay, acting. That led to fight choreography. When we had to do Romeo and Juliet, they're like, oh, you're the fight captain. I'm like, sweet, what I do? Learn all the fights. Let's do this. And just from there, snowballed. And when I got into cosplay, it was like, oh, it's another form of acting.
hmm Yeah.
You're doing costumes, you're portraying the character. I was like, okay, how does the character move? How does the character sound? How does if you can do the voice, can you try to imitate it? Like, okay, that's what kept like the acting spark in me for a while I was just like trying to pay off my tuition and my loans from college.
Yeah, yeah, and that's and see, I love hearing stories like that. I love hearing about people finding a way, and in fact, really in theme with the show, getting creative with it, and following that passion and going for it. So when you got into cosplay, when exactly? So that was in college, around that same time you started
It
doing.
was like a year after college. Like I just finished college. I did my bachelor's in theater and film
Mhm.
because when they first started going to college, they just had the theater program. And they're like, "Oh, we're making a film program." And I'm like, "What? Sign me the F up right now."
Right, right,
And they're like, "Oh, it's in the progress. We can start taking the classes." So I was one of the first graduates of the film program
mhm,
because I was close with the mentor. He was like my film mentor. And I was like, "All right, what do I need to graduate?" And I started doing that because then I picked up editing, film directing, and then I combined that with theater. And I was like, okay, this is well. When I got out of college, I was like, okay, I got to pay the bills. I
right.
need a job. I started working security, and it was doing the job, but I was like, I miss that creative touch. I miss doing stuff. I would honestly be at work checking the trunks of cars, doing voices to keep myself sane for 8-hour shifts in the middle of Times Square, staring blindly into the neon lights. And when I got into cosplay, it was like a year later, started going to Comic Con with a couple of friends and my partner, and just started having fun with it. I always liked the costumes. I actually graduated college in a Spider-Man costume. They're like, you wouldn't do it. I was like, hold my beer.
You
And
did.
middle of graduation, in full cap and gown with the hat, I beat Andrew Garfield to it first. And I was like, what's up? They're like, who the heck is in a Spider-Man? Oh, Arsenio.
So
My parent,
speaking of, oh yeah, no, what were you saying?
man, my parents were like, what if they kick you out? I'm like, I'm wearing a mask. They won't know I'm your son. So you'll be fine.
I love the backup plan for that. He's graduating. What the hell are they going to do? Fail me?
Exactly.
I love that individualist streak in you, man. And all right, so now speaking of Spider-Man, um, the other day I saw it came up on your memories. You and the Cage Nerd. That
Brandon.
picture, Brendan.
Yeah.
That picture. Okay, I'm putting it up on B-roll right now, by the way, so people can see it. How the hell did that? just walk me through what happened here.
Okay, so that day, me and my friend Naquan, cosplay name, we were doing a birthday party appearance for another friend of ours. And
Mhm.
and Brandon actually lived in Jersey. And I'm like, hey, we'll be out in Jersey. He's like, oh, let's link up. And I was like, oh, by the way, you got to surprise Luke Cage with Deadpool and Spider Man.
Dude.
Afterwards, me and Naquan were going to do a Spidey shoot with all the Spider Mans around. And Brandon's like, yo, I'll join you guys. I'm like, oh, let's have fun.
Yeah.
We're just taking the shots and stuff. And I was like, hey, Brandon, how strong are you? Like, what I was like, I'm like, what if I can get a photo of like me perched on your shoulder, like a couple of He's like, all right, cool. So he just was like, held his arm, he was like, climb up. So I stood up, grabbed the pole, and like we're slowly going up, little by little, little by little, until we're up there. And I like, it's like, I take the photo, took my hand off the wall, crossed my arms, snapped the shot. I was like, ah, that's it. Everyone's like, how the hell? I'm like, that's no CGI, just all Brandon, steady as a rock, holding me up there.
I mean, years of martial arts training and Pilates and massage, like I could see his mechanics, like I could see his mechanics, like the way he kind of shifted his weight and let the line of energy go down this way. But that still takes a shit ton of strength to
Yeah,
hold up a grown human dude. I mean, like, and how that picture never came across my feed up before like a few days ago on your memories, I don't know, but it was so cool. And I gotta give him a shout out. I gotta give him credit. And I gotta give you credit, man, because you're like, well, that's all Brand. I'm like, that is amazing. You're like, oh, that's all Brandon's strength. I'm like, it takes talent not to break your ass right now.
bounce. I'm like, all right, go. Woo, did it.
Let's see, and that brings me to the next thing I wanted to ask you: your interaction with other people. Like I've seen you, obviously I've seen sorry at Comic Con. I've seen a lot of your photos. You do a lot of collaborations when it comes to photography with other photographers, with other cosplayers. What's it like for you to be able to interact with somebody like that? I should let me phrase it this way: is it more difficult with like certain personalities than others, or have you found like you've always been able to just like jump in, collab with people, have a nice day, and go home, or is it like harder in like certain situations than others?
It really depends. Like sometimes, yeah, personalities can clash, may have creative differences and stuff like that. But usually, I just try to keep a chill thing. I'm
Mhm.
always like trying to, because I know I can like get hyped up in the moment that it's easy and cost, but like, oh, I'm getting its attention, because it's faming. Feed down in the whole toxic path is like try to check yourself all the time. So
Right.
it's like, all right, let's work together. If someone hits me up like, hey, want to do a shoot with you? And I'm like, yeah, I'm down. Like, let me know when and where. And if I'm available to it, I'm down for it. I'm always gonna be up for doing ideas of that if I can make it. If I can't make it, I'll tell you straight up, like, hey, I was actually supposed to do like a big collaborative shoot around last year in like Roosevelt Island and I couldn't make it. I was like, hey guys, I'm really sorry, but my bathroom ceiling just collapsed. And I just sent him a photo. I was like, welcome to living in the hood. This is what I gotta deal with today. And I was like, this is not gonna work out today.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, yeah. Oh my God, that Roosevelt Island shoot. Shit,
Yeah.
that's right.
That consternation, I was doing that. I actually was talking to Nate about doing it first, about doing an angel, but that weekend I had my certification. I was like, dude, I really can't make it.
Yeah.
And there was another one that was in the same area. That was another shoot. That was like another group, like Marvel versus DC. And
Mhm.
I was like, oh, I was gonna do that. I think it was gonna be Flash and maybe Daredevil to like
Mhm.
do a balance of both. And then like the day of, it's just like I was literally at the gym teaching the class before going there. My mother calls me and she's like, "Hey, the bathroom ceiling just fell." And I'm like, "What? What? Come again for Big Fudge?"
Um, see, that's the absolute worst. I remember I was helping someone out at a photo shoot, and I don't know, I had some like sort of like allergic reaction to
Oof.
something, and my eye was just like it was gross. It was like constantly like dripping, and so I'm like running back and forth between. So I feel you on that. I feel you on the things will just happen, but you seem to have a really good way of kind of just rolling with it and just going with it. Have you always been that kind of, well, guess this is what we're doing now, or has there been like a lot of like painful lessons that kind of got you to relax in that sense?
It's definitely been like a lot of painful lessons growing up, stuff like that, but also even just doing theater. You mess up anything in the show, you got to learn how to go with the punch.
Yep.
Oh, my prop sword break. All right, guess we're doing a fist fight. Let's go.
Oh, my co-star just jumped an entire page. Now I got to write something in my head really quick to go back to that page and
Oh, I've had to do that a couple of times. There was one show I think we did where like it was an outdoor show. Like the first theater show I did was One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which by the way, watch Ratchet on Netflix because it's really good to watch.
yeah, yeah,
But it was an outside amphitheater show, so we had like the set window for a scene to the characters to jump out of it for the girls to come in.
yeah.
And
Mhm.
this was in the middle of that summer, 90 degrees, blazing hot, wearing like 3 layers of clothing because they gave us stage underwear, our actual underwear, and then the clothes and the hospital wear. I'm like, why are you wearing this many someone's clothes? It's like 90 degrees. We're dying. So this one day we actually had a breeze, and I was like, oh God, it's amazing. We could breathe. Window just fell during the show. And I'm just like, don't break character, don't break character, don't break character. And the one friend who could break character because he was the insane one who hallucinated, I was like, dude, you could have just been like, hey guys, did a window just fall? We
Yeah.
would have killed it. I'm like, ah. The whole
Just
time I'm
hate
just like, oh,
Dude, I hate it when like those beautiful moments just kind of like slip away into the night. But so let me get back to your training. So you said when you were talking about how you would like absorb like into how the character thinks and feels and acts. When because we've I think we've all had the experience when we're out there and it's kids coming up to us, little
mm-hmm.
kids. They will grill the shit out of you.
Oh
Captain America has had to duck and has had to bob and weave quite a lot. How do you handle kids?
you honestly just have to banter back with them, roll with the punches if they try to diss you, take it with a joke and just play her off. I'm like, oh, Spider Man, how come you're not swinging your webs? I'm like, well, they told me not to because it's a mess. It takes 2 hours to clean up. You really want your parents to deal with that? Like, come on, buddy, I'm working out with you here. Like, oh, why can't you swing webs? Like, I actually ran out this morning trying to get here. Like, I have to hail a cab back to Queens. Work with me, buddy.
Dude, I love that. I love it. Yeah, I've had to do the same thing as Cap. Probably the most embarrassing moment for me though was I can't dance. It's like such a white stereotype. I can't dance. And so like I was doing a kids party and there's a few other characters and these kids all wanted to floss and I'm like slamming my thigh and they're like Captain America can't do the floss and they're like like
It's
all
from the 50s.
dude. So what I said was so like, well, I could do a Charleston, and that was literally the only thing I did. So I'm teaching these like 4-year-olds how to Charleston
In character and it works.
in character, and it works. So let me ask you, actually, like, what kind of events are your favorite to do? Like just straight up conventions, photo shoots. Like, how do you really love to interact as your character? What's your favorite?
Conventions are great for the walking around. As I've been in for a while longer and just how crazy New York Comic Con has been, me and my friends were like, "Ah, we got 3 hours max in these suits, and then we're going back to casual." So it's like photo shoots. If it's like a studio photo shoot, it's always fun. But me personally, I always enjoy doing like stunt fights, choreography videos like that. I was like, "All right, we're gonna do a video of these characters, and we're gonna do choreography, and it's gonna be sick." And I'm like, "Yes, let's go."
Okay, I'm gonna start begging you now when we wrap this up for links to those videos so I can put them all down in the description or maybe put up like annotation
Oh,
cards here.
oh, that's a segue too. So I'm already ready for that one.
Go.
I actually started a stunt crew here in New York with a couple of friends of mine. It's called, I should wear my own merch, Untapped Arsenal,
Untapped Arsenal. All right.
UA. So it's just full of,
Of course it's UA. All right.
I had to. I'm like, okay, I need something that sounds cool. And I'm also watching My Hero Academy. And I'm like, UA, Untapped Arsenal, genius.
Boom, done.
Because the way I thought of it was we're an entire arsenal of people of all these skills who aren't really used to our full potential. We're untapped. And I'm like, I'm a genius.
Yes.
I'm an idiot, but I'm a genius. So
Smartest idiot.
I started spinning off of that because I'm also doing Henshin Squad with a friend of mine's, Deca Mexican. That's where I'm in doing the Power Ranger stuff, the Jamingers. We started collaborating with that, and I started meeting the people, friends that have people I've known from like training at JKD NYC. And then I was like, all right, we have all these different skill sets. Let's put them all together. It's like, let's just link up, do some fights, and play around. And just started doing from there. Since I've also done like stuff before with Common Ramen, great team. Definitely, if you have seen their stuff before, they're insane. G and Andrew are insane tag team combo. Like one of my personal like goals for like how I want to be as a choreographer down the line.
Okay.
But just doing that is just always like back and forth, doing good. And it's like, yeah, like okay, you guys want to link up today? Like okay, what you want to do? Casual choreo, cool. You want to do a costume? All right, let's figure out what we're gonna figure out.
And so it goes from there. So obviously, I'm going to be dropping all the links down in the YouTube description. I'm going to try to scroll as many Instagram handles and everything as I can on the bottom here, just going by. So okay, so that brings me to my next question. Where is Arsenio Arsenal and where's Untapped Arsenal? Where do you want all this to go? What's your vision?
My vision, especially with like Arsenio Arsenal, the cosplay has been great. Just doing stuff. I've used it more like to try to get the recognition and get known, stuff like that. With Untapped Arsenal, that's where like my passion is. I was like, I've always loved stunts. love stunts, grew up watching martial arts movies, everything, always seeing it. Even now, as I'm rewatching shows, I'm like, that's a cut, that's a stunt, man. That's a take, that's 27 cuts in Iron Man's first fight. Jesus Christ, that is horrible. And that's one of my main things. Like, I love making videos. I love making whether it's Power Rangers, Daredevil, Batman, all these stuff. Is like that's what my real passion. That's what I want to do and keep building with on Arsenal. And I was like, I don't care if I make it big in Hollywood. If I can become a big successful stuntman, nah. But if I can make content that me and my team are proud of and everyone people enjoying it, that's all I need. Job wise, I'm pretty stable at the moment. I would love to do it more full time, but it's still building towards it. Balancing between stunts and personal training, I'll be set for life.
Dude, all right, so that actually brings me to my final question is what advice you would give to somebody, to a young kid, a young version of you who is being told what to do by his family and he's got this passion. What would you tell the younger you?
Honestly, look for what makes you happy.
Yeah.
If you enjoy dressing up as characters, suiting up, making props, filming stuff, and just keep at it, I was like, no matter what, just keep at it. The main thing is consistency. Long-term consistency trumps short-term intervals, short bursts of intervals, Bruce Lee,
Yeah.
around the ballpark. But the same principle, the more you keep at it, the more you keep doing, the more you make connections, the more you start getting better at it. It's just keep practicing. The first few fights you're gonna do, they're gonna look horrendous. I've had scenes where I missed the scene like completely, and it's just a wild look, and I'm like, that was bad. Oh, let's do that again. But then you just keep at it, and you still develop a good bond. You find people who have the same passion in you. Once you have a solid crew of people who have the same thoughts and feelings, the rest just takes off and makes itself.
Dude, that is one, and I love that is great, by the way. And I love that you really tied it back to people because again, you're not just really great physically, you are a great collaborator. And I've never heard a bad word said about this guy. And believe me, the cosplay scene, there's a lot of tea that gets spilled and a lot of gossip that goes around, a lot of toxicity. Never heard a word about this guy. And that's because you stay true, you do you, and you're always willing to get into it, lend a hand, just get out there. And that is huge props to you, my man.
Thanks so much. I'm no saint. I do have my own tea spilled here and there, but it's just what you do is just always try to do better the next day. We all have our mistakes. We all make our mess ups, but it's just as long as you keep knowing what you want to do and keep working for it, that's what matters. And always one of the main things is not always focus about having the spotlight. I always tell my team, I'm like, look, just because I'm choreographing this beat and I'm playing this character doesn't mean I want to do it the whole time. I have more fun figuring out the angles for a fight than I am actually doing the stuff. I'm like, okay, this looks good. I can make you look really good at this shot. If it's not me, and I was like, good, I can take a break. I'm not getting punched in the face today.
I actually think I'm going to make that the title of this episode. Not getting punched in the face today. That's perfect. That's perfect. I'm absolutely using that.
It's actually perfect because I didn't do any fighting today.
Yeah, you look all clean and pretty.
That's right.
Arsenio, thank you so much, my man. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so
Guys,
much.
a lot of handles and a lot of links will be down below. Make sure you're following Arsenio. Did not mean to do that, but I couldn't resist.
Of course.
From Matt and Arsenio, this has been another outstanding episode of Something, Something, Something Creative. Catch you on the next one. Take care, everybody.